Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, today we're talking about the big three things that if you're retiring between September and December 2025, these are the big things that you should be worrying about. We see hundreds, thousands of federal employees retire, and we see all the problems, mistakes, and the good things they do, and I'm going to share some of the biggest things you need to know about if you're retiring later this year in 2025. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dallin Hawes. I'm a financial planner, and I help serve federal employees retiring and make sure they can get the most out of their entire benefit package, their TSP, taxes, everything else. So let's talk about it. Number one, and I certainly hope you have already heard about this one here, and that is there's going to be a delay between when you retire and when your pension starts. Let's say your retirement date is 9/30 or 12/31, whatever it is. After your retirement date, boom, your pension does not hit your checking account the next day. That's just not how it works. Your retirement date is officially when your retirement package gets sent off to OPM, and then the clock starts. Where they haven't processed anything come your retirement. Your HR has done a bunch of stuff before your retirement date. They've done their side, but they then ship it off to OPM during your retirement, and OPM starts working on it. And let me just talk you through average timelines. I have no clue what it's going to be like for you because things are constantly in a flux, but this is average. Average, it takes 2 to 3 months to get any money from OPM. And it's not your full pension yet. It's what they call interim payments. Interim payments. Basically, that ranges normally between 60 to 70% of your full pension is what they start paying to you. And basically, it's them saying, look, we know we've processed your application enough to know that you're eligible for retirement, but not enough to be completely done. So here's some money to get you going, and we'll get back to you. And again, that normally takes 2 to 3 months for even that to start. And then it takes between 3 and 6 months for your full pension to kick in and for them to pay back everything they missed. All right, so it can take some time. Now, sometimes it's quicker than this. It really depends with OPM going through some changes right now. Hopefully things do improve and get quick over time. But again, those are averages of how long things normally take. So what can you do about this? Well, hopefully you've got money, right? Hopefully you have some cash, an emergency fund, something to get you through. You'll probably get if you have any annual leave on the books at retirement, of course, they're going to pay you a check for that annual leave. So that can be super, super helpful, get you through those first few months, hopefully. But if you really don't have much annual leave, you're going to be cashing out, and you really don't have an emergency fund, what can you do? Well, you will have access to TSP within normally 4 to 6 weeks of retirement. But of course, it can take TSP a little bit to be notified that you're retired and actually treat you like a retired person. So that's most of the time not immediate either of getting access to TSP. So you want to be careful not to be too reliant really early in retirement. So that's the first thing to know is things are going to take a while to actually process for your pension and things to actually start in retirement. Do you have the money to fill the gap? All right. Number 2. If you have dental and vision benefits, now I understand not all of you will, but just pay attention here, okay? Long story short, there's things like your health insurance, life insurance, that the next question people always have is, okay, well, when I'm not receiving a pension, I know my premiums for this insurance gets paid out of my pension. Am I still covered under my insurance during the time I'm waiting? Right? How do I don't want to have a lapse in coverage and have a big problem if I don't have coverage and I have a big medical issue. Well, here's the deal. For both health insurance and life insurance, no problem at all. Meaning, yes, even when you're not technically receiving your pension, there is no lapse in coverage. And basically, when they give you that big lump sum, say, hey, look, we missed 5 months worth of full pensions. Here's what we missed. They're going to just take out the premiums that you would have paid, and you're going to be covered the entire time. Even when you're not fully receiving your pension yet, no problem, okay? It's all kind of baked in. It's just all built into the system. However, dental and vision often works a little different. If you have dental and vision, you often have to reach out to them directly and pay the premiums directly while you are waiting for your pension, so there's no lapse in coverage. If you're not sure what you need to do, just go to benefeds.gov and contact them, and they will sort it out. Okay, we've seen different things for different people, but you just want to make sure if you have dental and vision, you don't want to have a lapse in coverage while you're waiting for your pension to start, okay? Once your pension kicks in, then yes, your dental and vision premiums will come directly out of your pension, but while you're waiting, you want to reach out to Benefeds directly to make sure those premiums are paid. You don't have a lapse in coverage. Now, last but not least, TSP problems. Again, if you're retiring this year, this is a critical thing to understand. Let me paint you a picture. When people retire, it's normally the first time they've got full access, unfettered access to their TSP, which is great, okay? That's what it's for, to be used in retirement. However, if you aren't careful, you can end up sending a huge chunk of your TSP to the IRS without wanting to do exactly that, okay? So let me talk you through a couple things. As you know, in the U.S. tax system, the more money you make, the higher percentage of that goes to taxes, right? These are some of the tax brackets. We've got 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%, blah, blah, blah. I can keep going, but these are the rough tax brackets, okay? And the higher your income goes, the higher your tax bracket. That's how it works. So let me just do an example. Let's say normally you're at the top of the 12% bracket or whatever it is, okay? This is your normal income, whether from your job or from your pension, Social Security, etc. This is your normal income. Well, let's say you retire and say, look, oh man, I've always wanted to pay off my mortgage. I've always wanted to buy that boat. I've always wanted to do X, Y, Z, whatever it is, which again, I'm not opposed to wanting to do things or spending from TSP in retirement, but how you do it really matters and how much money you keep and how much the IRS keeps, okay? So let's say you've got $150,000 you still owe on the mortgage. Say, look, I've got this much I've got $1 million in my TSP. What if I took $150,000 out of that and just paid this off, knocked it out? That would be great not to have that in retirement. Potentially, yes. I'm not saying it's a bad idea in general, but what would that do to your tax bracket? Well, first and foremost, if you're pulling $150,000 from the traditional TSP, not the Roth, the traditional, then you're going to have to take out a lot more than $150,000 to net $150,000 because you got to pay taxes. If you take out $150,000, they may only send you $120,000 depending on how much you want to withhold for taxes. Okay, and so to actually net $150,000, maybe you got to take out $200,000. So that means you just added $200,000 to your tax bracket for this year, or whenever you take the withdrawal out. So if you're normally in the 12% bracket, maybe you're in the 24% bracket, paying a much, much, much larger percentage of that withdrawal in taxes than you otherwise might have. So we see this problem early in retirement all the time, especially if you're retiring late in this year, like most of you are, right, between September and December. If you take a withdrawal late in the year after working an entire year, sometimes it's even worse, right? Where you've got almost a full year of earnings, of salary in your taxes, and if you take a huge TSP withdrawal, boom, again, it can push you to a really high tax bracket very, very quickly. Now, here's the deal. I'm not saying don't spend your TSP. I'm not saying that at all. I want you to enjoy your money however you want to do it. Your goals are the one that matters, okay? But how we do it really matters. What if, for example, we're trying to pay off our mortgage? What if we just didn't do it all at once? What if we spread it out over time? What if we did it maybe over 3-4 years, just kind of filling up the next bracket or whatever it may be? Long story short, I don't know your situation. I don't know what tax bracket you're in. I don't know exactly the impact of the withdrawal you want to take is. I don't know this stuff. But all I'm saying is don't just take money out with knowing the tax implications. Because there will be tax implications if you're pulling from traditional TSP. That's all taxable. That's all taxable. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that we see throughout retirement is people don't understand the ramifications of their decisions. While you're working, it's very simple. It's very hard to have spikes in income because you just have a salary. In retirement, you have a lot of control over how things go, which is a blessing because you've got control, but it's also a problem if you don't know the ramifications of your choices. So I hope that's helpful. Now, if you're looking for help in your retirement, if you want help with TSP and tax plan, all these things, that's what we help with. You can look in the description and see if we've got a slot that works for you to chat, see if we can't help you. Otherwise, though, enjoy these videos. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.